For over 15 years, Saturdays and A Legal Curve have been synonymous with one another. With insight, analysis, and interviews regarding the Winnipeg Jets, the Manitoba Moose, and all around the NHL, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Alrighty, let's do this thing. Saturday morning. Good morning, Winnipeg. Good morning, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this morning on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good morning, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Jets game day bookending today, 9 a.m. for the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, 9 p.m. for the Jets at the Flames. The post-game show somewhere around midnight. The West Coast trip is wrapping up. Praise Allah, praise God, praise whomever that it is finally coming to an end, as I cannot take many more of these late hours, but nonetheless, we are here to do it again. Dave Manouk in the top right, Ezra Ginsburg bottom middle. I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Yes, I don't know what I'm saying either. Gentlemen, good to see you both on this Saturday morning. Great night last night with our buddy James Duthie at McNally Robinson. That was a lot of fun. Just been a real fun sort of weekend. Good vibe in the city with the Grey Cup and all the people here celebrating in the great, unexpected, unusual mid-November weather. So we're having a great time on this Saturday morning.
I agree with you. Good morning, boys. I agree with you, Drew, about the vibes in the city right now. I was driving home from work, and there was an event at the University of Winnipeg. Like, there was tons of like food trucks and music and stuff like that. So there's definitely, you can definitely feel it. It kind of reminds you a little bit, if you want to go way back, like 25 years, in 1999 when we had the Pan Am Games. Obviously, like, the Grey Cup isn't at the same level as the Pan Am Games, but it is a huge event, right, guys? Like, I think people that aren't even CFL fans or people that aren't even going to watch the Grey Cup, they've been experiencing all this energy and all the events that are happening outside the cities, around the city, right? So yeah, it's going to be a fun game. I know Dave M is very pumped up for Machine Gun Kelly at halftime.
Totally. 100%.
Yeah, huge.
Can any of us name one song that he's put out? Like, there's no way any of us know any.
No, I think I do know one. Didn't he do a song called Cliche or something like that? No. Or was it? I think he did a song. Did he? I could be wrong.
That's how people described our analysis on the show, is cliche.
Ah, fair enough. I thought he did a song. He did some like weird song just recently. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure
I'm more of an Eminem guy.
There's a
Eminem meets.
That's true. There's an Eminem group.
Hey, Donnie Boy sing Cliche.
Okay, Dave, good for you. You're
Look at me.
You're on top.
I'm hip
of things.
to the scene. I'm hip to the scene.
You are hip to the scene. Our Lady Peace is also performing at the at the pregame show or the pre-party or whatever the heck it's called on Sunday.
I thought they were doing the anthem.
No, I think isn't Katie St. Germain doing the anthem, and I think Our Lady Peace is doing so. There's like a pre-game concert at the stadium. I'm not entirely certain. I'll figure it out tomorrow.
Navid. Remember that song? Navid.
Yeah, exactly. Navid. I haven't heard much from Our Lady Peace lately, but I'm looking forward to it. It should be a fun time. And anyways, it's a fun. The city looks good right now, so that's what we're saying by and large.
Well, and it also helps that it was 11 degrees yesterday. So
that's what I'm saying.
Mid-November, no snow. Everywhere else has got snow, not us. And why not us?
Exactly right. Why not us? The Jets are saying, why not us as well? Why not us in the win column? Well, because you haven't been playing well enough is the answer there. I'm glad everyone tuned in for that. But I would say, losers of 4 of their last 5.
Is that good?
No, it's not great. I'll be perfectly honest. I think people know that. 20% winning percentage isn't going to get you very far. I think that this is probably the most adversity that they faced under Scott Arniel as head coach. That they are right now, they're in one, and they're not in a good one right now. They have to find a way to, get
this isn't a Mike Commodore in one. This is a slump in one.
Yeah, this is a slump in one. Exactly right. They were talking about it yesterday. They practiced in Calgary, very close to now complete full health, as I believe both Morgan Barron and Cole Koepke were wearing the right colored jerseys.
Yeah, although Arniel said worth noting, Arniel said they're not expected to play tonight. He said, he basically said, although I always laugh because coaches always hedge, so you always have to be. I never use absolutes whenever we don't have that from them. So
Pierre LeBrun should have learned that lesson that you just learned there, Dave. Remember the Shifley and Hellbuck?
Yeah.
They're absolutely not signing in Winnipeg.
Yeah,
You don't
no,
care?
no, I do remember that. But
Drew's never forgetting about that one.
No,
you know what? You deserve to, if you're just going to parrot whatever is put in front of you, you deserve to wear it when you make a bad mistake.
Yeah. So I don't think I've learned because of his example, but I just think I tried to not use absolutes. And Arniel said that he expects them to be ready to go for Columbus, which will be interesting because it means the organizations who have, I think there's 26 skaters right now up with the roster because there's 3 guys on IR. So
you can have black aces in the middle of the regular season.
Yeah, exactly. So once Koepke and Barron and Fleury are ready to come off IR, the organization is going to have to make some decisions.
And more than just the basic decisions of Lambert and Chibrikov.
Yeah, those are the easy
Those ones are the easy ones. There's too many guys still, and you're going to have to make some more interesting decisions at that point in time. Connor Hellbuck expected to be in the net tonight for the Winnipeg Jets, according to our buddy Ken Wiebe, who was, of course, on the road trip in Calgary. And then it's expected Eric Comrie will get the game on Tuesday against the Columbus Blue Jackets, which is where Barron and Koepke are, more likely, barring anything unforeseen, to return to the Winnipeg Jets lineup. But what I was saying is that this adversity that they're in right now seems to me, I think it's their biggest adversity that they faced since Scott Arniel took over as the Winnipeg Jets head coach. Last year, with the great start, they had a couple of dips, but there weren't anything that was as worrisome, I would argue, as what we've seen from the Jets on this road trip. So let me ask you guys this. If you had to sort of pinpoint one player in particular, because it's really I don't think any of us would say that it's been a goaltending issue on this road trip. No. So of the skaters, who's the one skater that you're looking for to sort of elevate their game a little bit and maybe help pull this Jets team out of the doldrums that they currently find themselves in? Obviously, you have Calgary tonight. Calgary is not a good hockey team. They have been struggling. They are at the bottom of the NHL, 32nd overall. Even the Buffalo Sabres are ahead of the Calgary Flames. Oh, and by the way, the Flames have played 2 more games than the Sabres. So Calgary is a pretty poor hockey team. So for the Jets, you have to look at this as an opportunity to begin to right your ship tonight. But at the same time, that means that some people have to step up their game. Who, from your perspective, are those guys who need to sort of, be the drivers to get this team out of where they currently are?
Drew, you're absolutely right about this being a great opportunity to get out of this funk, right? Obviously, it would only be one win, but it would be an excellent way to end the road trip feeling good about yourselves, right? And as you just mentioned, like, Calgary's not a very good team. So on paper, the Jets should absolutely beat the Flames. Doesn't mean that's an automatic. I mean, everybody knows that. I mean, it's not like you're going to take them lightly or anything like that, but this is, I called it on Thursday night's post-game show. I called it a can't lose. Like, you just can't lose this game. There's no excuse to lose. The Flames, even though yours truly picked them to be a playoff team this year, and I will definitely wear that egg on my face because the Flames are definitely not making the playoffs this year. I mean, it would require like something ridiculous for them to make the playoffs, like a 10-game winning streak or something like that at this point. They're just too far back at this point in the season. But, Drew, you mentioned, which players can elevate their games. Like, when I look at the Jets, like, the Shifley, Connor, Velarde line has been good the whole year. Like, have they had some games where they're not, their A game wasn't there? Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I don't know. Like, you look at Kyle Connor last game, like, he had the winning goal in his stick. Obviously, he scored a beautiful goal and finally got that power play monkey off of his back, right? But like, if I'm picking like a line, obviously I wouldn't necessarily pick 1 or 2 players, but I'm taking that second line, guys. Like, that second line has got to be better. Obviously, Taves, Perfetti, Nemesnikov is who we're talking about. And yes, guys, Perfetti's only been back for 3 games. So we're not going to be, too hard on 91 here. He's still getting back, it's a cliche, but he's still getting back to that game speed and just getting back to where everybody else is at this season, right? It's hard when, and I think that's something to factor in, guys, here with this slide. I'm not making excuses for the Jets. That's not what I'm doing here. But, you've had Lowry join this road trip. You've had Sandberg join this road trip after missing a lot of games. Perfetti, you've had Nyquist out of the lineup. You've had Morgan Barron and Cole Koepke out of the lineup. Like, what I'm saying is this affects a team's chemistry and it affects things. And again, I'm not saying that, that's an excuse and that absolves the Jets of their play lately. I'm just saying, guys, I think you got to factor that in. Like, look at how good the Jets were doing earlier in the season when the lineup was set and you had guys out of the lineup, but you knew they were going to be out of the lineup until earlier mid-November, right, guys? But yeah, Drew, going back to that second line, I think that's a key for me. Like that line, it's not just at sometimes the lack of production, because Vlad Nemestikov, I think, has been great this year. He's already got 6 goals. I know he's kind of going for the Cy Young right now. He's only got the 1 assist, but it's not so much just the goals and the assists, guys. It's the fact that this line has been caved in at times, and they're if you look at their analytics, the analytics of this line are not good.
When it comes to all the Jets aren't good, but
especially that line though. I think that's the worst
right.
line of the 3, and also I'm pretty sure. I mean, I at least the eye test, the Lowry Niederreiter IFL line to me has been fine. Like I have no complaints about that line. Then obviously, sorry, I'll let Dave get in here, but Dave, you can go down the lineup and Gus Nyquist doesn't have a goal yet in 12 or 13 games, right? Like Tanner Pearson's got 2 goals in 17 games. Like if you want to go down the lineup, Parker Ford hasn't scored a goal yet this year. I'm a big fan of Parker Ford's game. Like I think he's a good energy guy. He gets in on the forecheck. He's got the physicality. He doesn't back down from anybody. And I do think, like, going back to the college days, this guy can score. Like he does have a scorer's touch. He's not stone hands, but if you want to go up and down the lineup, there's other players aside from Taves that you could complain about, but I still have question marks about whether Taves is basically at this point in his career good enough to be a second line center.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I think it's a good point by Az, and you can't help the analytics for the Jets collectively are not good. We all know that, and you don't have to be a scientist to figure that out. You can look at the goaltending; it's been very good. And it's helped them out. We know that the special teams, they started to reverse the power play slump because it was like I said, it was top 5. Then it went down to 13th. Now I think they're at 11th. I haven't checked based on what happened last night, but they were 11th, so they're moving back up. PK slipped a little bit, went from 3rd to 5th. Still pretty. If you have a top 5 PK, especially given how they were last year, that's a win. Especially without Sandberg and Lowry for the first month of the season, or more than the first month of the season. And as he's right, and I responded to a comment in the chat because it's hard to put anything on Lowry, Perfetti, or Sandberg. They've been back for 1, 2, or 3 games. So you're not looking at those 3 guys and saying, well, why aren't you doing more? A, we don't really have a sample size to look at their game. And B, you're talking about guys who, again, are, like I said, are a month behind everyone else. But having said that...
Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, okay. I was gonna say, having said that, if you look at the Lowry, Niederreiter, and IFL combo, I like it. I'm with Ezzy. I think that they've been fine. They've had their chances. The Scheifele line has been porous defensively, but they usually outscore their problems, generally speaking. And the second line is again. I understand that there's going to be there. He's trying to give them some runway. The problem for the Jets is that when you were 9-3-0. Then you had the latitude to be like, okay, we could wait for this line to develop chemistry. The problem is that space that you had is gone. It's evaporated. Again, I understand we're only, a month really into the season, because I think the season started on the 14th of October. But at the same time, your sort of comfortable position in the Central is now an uncomfortable spot in a wild card spot with teams that are right behind you. So you don't have that latitude. You don't have that freedom to be like, okay, well, we can let this run for another 4 or 5, 6 games. You kind of have to get it. Like, it's funny because that was the nature of the conversation with Scott Arniel yesterday. And it was just he was asked about, well, do you have trust in this group to kind of get through it? And he's like, well, sure. But like at the same time, we don't really have the luxury to spend another 3, 4, 5 games figuring it out.
Well, let me
what's he going to say? What's he going to say? I don't have trust in my team. Like,
well,
let me read you the quote. So this is what Scott Arniel had to say to the media yesterday in Calgary at the Saddle Dome as part of the after Jets practice. Quote: "There isn't panic and there isn't a sense of urgency. I would argue there should be a sense of urgency, but I'll let him continue. But we're in the toughest division in the league. That's true. And if you happen to look over at the standings, they're not losing too many games, the other teams in the Central. We want to stay in the pack here. We can't wait until December or January and decide it's time to turn it on. It's too hard of a league. We need to start grabbing our points right now. So, I mean, the Jets head coach is fully aware, which means the players are fully aware, they're in still a positive position given that of the 17 games they've played, they've won 10 of them. And if you extrapolate that over the course of the entirety of the season, that means you'll be a playoff team. As long as you win more than 50% of your games, you're going to be in the playoffs. But they do know at the same time that there are so many other teams that are right behind them now, that cushion that existed has to some extent been used up. I mean, you look at Colorado is miles ahead of everybody else in the Central Division, and so is Dallas. Given how good those two teams have been to start the year, so the Jets are fully aware that the time is nigh. The time is now to turn this around.
Take it easy, Shakespeare.
Yeah, the time is nigh to turn this around. You can't let it go any further. You've lost 4 of 5. Not great, Bob, but you can't make that all of a sudden losing 8 of 10 because that's really not great, Bob. And that starts tonight in Calgary.
That's Gavin McKenna time there, Drew.
Yeah, that's starting tonight in Calgary when you face off against a Flames team that is...
Speaking of who's going to draft Gavin McKenna.
The Flames. The Calgary Flames, based on how they've played so far this year. And the Jets hope to continue that to be the case. Lowry, you talked about the Lowry and Niederreiter and Iafallo line, and I don't think any of us are surprised at how effective that line has been. But since they've been put together and they've played just under 28 minutes as a trio at 5-on-5, they've got an expected goals of just over 57%, which is by far the best on the Winnipeg Jets. Connor Scheifele-Velarde, Velarde, who've played 211 minutes together. I think that they're obviously attached at the hip and have been for a long time. Only have an expected goals of 48%. That they want to bump that up a little bit. They want to, not that they've ever been Corsi darlings because they haven't been, but last year they were better than that. So you want to see that elevate. But I think it comes from every line on the Winnipeg Jets. You can't just be way down where you are right now. With all the struggles, when you don't possess the puck, because this Jets team, and we talked about this on the post-game show on, I guess, what day was that? Friday morning at this point in time, that this Jets team, so much of the success last year was about stringing shifts together, ozone shifts strung together. And they haven't been able to do that this year because you haven't possessed the puck enough. You haven't been able to work it in the opponent's zone enough. Now, does that come with more time together, with more chemistry from a Perfetti and Taves and the Mesnikov or whomever is going to be on the third player with the three of them? Maybe, but the Jets need to figure it out, and it starts tonight in Calgary, Ezzy.
And by the way, guys, I'm not lurking in the shadows here. It's just very...
No, sorry. You're not lurking in the shadows right now. You've done it many times before, but just not right in this instance.
That's funny. But it's very sunny here in St. James, and the sun is peeking through my blinds here in my dining room. So that's what's happening.
Somebody's doing well. Somebody can afford some window coverage.
Yeah. I was going to say, I've had temporary blinds for 13 years here in River Heights.
Don't worry, we know. We've noticed.
Yeah, no, but like getting back to the Jets here, I think, Dave touched on it. Drew, you just touched on it as well. Like, this is not just, a one-line problem here. If you want to go back to the analytics and the expected goals and the lack of offense at even strength, like the Jets are almost lucky to have a 10-7 record. Yeah. Like this could easily be a 9-8 or 8-9 situation. And that's why I always take things with a grain of salt, guys, because when you talk about the record, the 9-3 start, and losing 4 of the last 5, like, yeah, the Jets now find themselves 9 points back of Colorado. Like that's Colorado's only lost 1 game in regulation, right? Like basically Colorado is where the Jets were last year. Obviously they aren't quite there because the Jets were 15-1, but you know what I mean? Like the Avalanche have pulled themselves away. So I can understand why Scott Arniel is talking about keeping up with the pack. And that's why this game tonight against Calgary is so important, right? Like you wouldn't have said that maybe a couple of weeks ago,
Right.
but because the Jets are 1-4 on this road trip, Dave, like this is it is a must win when you consider that the Calgary Flames are one of the weaker teams, if not the weakest team in the league. And they've got to get it going. And it's not like we're putting this all on the second line, but we're just saying like, we're 17 games into the season here. You could say, okay, well, yeah, that's still, we're not even at the quarter mark, but I think that's enough hockey that we've seen some troubling signs here. And like, I think the Jets will get through this. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets beat Calgary tonight and then they beat Columbus and then, they get a couple wins together. Obviously Carolina is not going to be an easy game. They have Carolina coming up twice at the end of the month, but they've got it
playing the way they're playing. I mean, not playing the way they're playing. They're not going to beat any quality team, and they can lose to any team playing the way they're playing right now. Dave,
sure,
is that they're just not at that. There's not the cohesiveness, and there's not the. I mean, look, a game like Thursday's game against Seattle, where you're up 3-2 after 40 minutes, and you're starting the third period on a power play. Last year, that was a win for the Jets.
Yeah, or at the very least, you get a single point out of that game.
Yeah. I mean, the truth also, it's been a win this year. They're 7-0 in third periods when they had a lead. So, I mean, like we should note, if we're going to be honest, that it's not like this is a trend that's been like. There's a lot of trends with the Winnipeg Jets. Disappearing third period leads, not one of them this season, or as you point out, Drew, last season. But it is. There's no question. I mean, we talked about it on the last postgame show. I mean, they're not even getting games to overtime, and Scott Arniel didn't really mince words when he was asked about the way they played, when he was asked to reflect on the game. And he said, too many missed assignments. Like we just didn't play, whatever cliche you want to use it or say, connected hockey, that sort of thing. But we saw it. How many times do we see breakdowns where guys weren't where they needed to be, lost their man, and that man ends up scoring the goal? So, I mean, it's too many players having too many breakdowns. Like it isn't, as he's right, this isn't on one player. I'm not saying Jonathan Toews is solely responsible. Again, I said before he'd even started playing a game, I said, if you're relying on Jonathan Toews in the first 20, 30 games to be like some huge difference maker when he hasn't played hockey in a couple of years, I'll be surprised. And to be honest with you, again, I would anticipate that the Lowry line moving forward is going to get more minutes than the second line, than the quote second line. So we talk about first line, second line, third line, but I'll be shocked if Lowry, Niederreiter, and Iafallo, assuming everything stays the way it is for right now, aren't getting more minutes than the second line.
Oh no, absolutely, and they deserve to. That line has been really good, and I think Drew brought.
You can't look at their numbers and not say otherwise, right?
I just talked about it.
Yeah, no, that line's not being broken up. There's no reason to break up that line unless I think you get more injuries. But I think what Drew brought up on the postgame show a couple nights ago or a couple mornings ago, I guess, is Morgan Barron possibly be giving it a shot as the second line center. Like, I really don't think that's an absurd or ridiculous notion. Like, right now, the second line is not working, and obviously things can change tonight, and they could have a big game. And Johnny
and by
Toews,
second line, you're talking about the Toews-Perfetti line.
The Toews line. I should be clear because yes, we could be calling the Lowry line the second line as well. But I think giving Morgan Barron an elevated role,
as he lines are just an artificial construct.
Exactly, absolutely. But I really think at this point in the season, this is
comment.
But you know what I mean, Drew? Like, this is the point in the season where I think you try things. And I'm not saying when Barron comes back, because I think, it's looking like there's a good shot that he'll be back for that Columbus game. I think we'd agree with that. Like we already mentioned, he's not playing tonight, but I think that Columbus game could be an opportunity for Barron to come back. So I'm not necessarily saying that you pluck Barron right into the 2C spot. I'm just saying, I think, you have to look at this team at a macro level and say, like, right now that there's that second line is an issue. Or the Toews line is an issue here. It just is. And I think they've been exposed pretty bad on this road trip.
Yeah, I would agree that and that doesn't mean, if you choose now, I mean, that's a conversation. That's a bit of a delicate conversation because I don't know that at any point in his career, Jonathan Toews has ever really played the wing off the top of my head. I can't really recall it. So that would certainly be a sensitive conversation that you have to have with him. But I'm sure that Scott Arniel and the Jets management and coaching staff are deft enough to have that conversation in a proper manner. But there's also no reason why you can't have Taves taking a lot of those face-offs if you determine that that's going to be the way forward. If Jonathan, maybe if playing center at this point with this number of this long of a layoff and this number of games and the compacted season, as we've talked about, if it becomes too much for Jonathan, which is not an unreasonable comment, by the way. I think he's exceeded my expectations so far. But again, it becomes a real grind at game 17 through game number 80 or whatever, maybe not 80, but 60, that if you want to sort of keep him fresh and keep him viable for a playoff run where you're expecting him to be at its best, then maybe you try and give him some softer minutes by moving him to a wing, seeing if Morgan Barron can take some of those harder minutes as a result. And maybe that is what sort of gets that line going. I see that backstage, our good friend Jamie Thomas has joined us, so we'll bring in Jamie Thomas. Does that say founder of positivity? Is that what that says, JT?
Because there's that thing where it gives you the option at the bottom. It says founder of creativity. I'm like, I'm going to go with founder of positivity.
Okay.
I hope I spell it properly.
Positivity is, of course, very welcome here on the program. We welcome all sorts. All
and
types.
Reality.
Yeah, reality
reality
too.
Check.
Yeah,
yes.
A reality check is perfectly reasonable. I think the reality check, Jamie, you would say is that the sky is not falling, in the Winnipeg Jets, given that they're 10-7 on the season. But the reality also is that this road trip has not been a good one, and it has exposed some issues that need to be dealt with moving forward. I think that might not fit on the screen. That might not be a full title that you can add to the screen there, but I think that's a fair comment. I would hope you would say.
That's right. That game against Seattle, guys, like they score the first goal of the game, and then the rush chances that they're giving up. There's always that trailing player. They never gave those up last year, like if at all. And I think Scott Arniel said there was like 9 scoring chances. I'm not saying they're all coming off the rush, but right up the middle of the ice, like somebody's not picking up the trailing player, and that stuff we didn't see last year. And I don't think that's like this should all be common. Like this is part of your DNA now if you're a Winnipeg Jet, and you can't even look at it as, okay, there's a lot of new players, they're starting to learn the system, but I'm pretty sure Tanner Pearson put a pretty strict discipline system in Los Angeles because they play the most boring hockey in the National Hockey League right now, and it didn't matter who the coach is. So to watch it happen over and over again is troubling. And the fact that they're 10-7, it just shows how good they actually are, that they can play not as well as they have and manage to get wins. And they're not even into, with all due respect to Seattle and Anaheim and San Jose, who are up and coming teams and really exciting to watch. No, not Seattle. I take them out of that. But, Anaheim and San Jose have given a lot of people problems this year, but they're not a Stanley Cup contender, right? So the Jets haven't even they faced Dallas in opening night, but they haven't got Colorado yet. Like you play like that against Colorado, it'll be 10-0. So these types of things where you can see where Scott Arniel is trying to hammer down a lot of the X's and O's again and trying to get this message across. You can understand why he's frustrated post game and even the next day and even after a day off, because it is concerning. There's enough veteran players on the roster that have been with this team for a considerable amount of time that those types of things shouldn't be happening. So, you can downplay them as much as you want, but if you are going to contend in the Central Division, as Arnie says, you have to get points night over night to be able to compete. So that I can see why he is seriously concerned about what's going on, especially on this road trip.
Jamie, how much stock do you put into, excuse me, and pardon me, I am lurking in the shadows right now. I need to.
Yeah, I like that.
I need to fix my blinds right now. You can see.
Is he there? Is he not there?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Where's that voice coming from?
Yes.
Ooh, I'm talking from the future here.
All I can see is the 50-50 tickets off the right. I better get some before the game tonight.
I wanted to ask you about Jonathan Taves because obviously, he has struggled. He scored a goal in Vancouver. We should mention that. But that line has struggled. Like, where are you at right now on Jonathan Taves and his usage, who his line mates are. Obviously, we talked about Cole Perfetti. He's only been back for 3 games now. He's only going to get better. I actually think he's been fine. I have no complaints. I think for a guy who, missed the first 15 or 16 games of the season, I think he's looked fine. But where are you at right now with that line? Because obviously, that line has to be producing more for the Jets.
Yeah, it does. And I look at the first night that Cole came back, and he had that glorious scoring chance right in front, that Jonathan Toews set up. I think that is what you will see a lot of going forward. Like once those two get used to each other, I think, whatever you want to say about Jonathan Toews right now, it's still going to take some time for him to be what we believe he's going to be. I just don't think you see flashes, and the feet still aren't there, but the intelligence and the hockey IQ and where he has to go. And guys, he is hands down the best faceoff guy in the National Hockey League. This is something
crazy.
The Jets have not had in years, right? It's not like they have had such a tough time having puck possession even during the last 2 seasons where they were really good, because of the fact that they couldn't win key faceoffs. Now they have this faceoff savant on their roster that they have to take advantage of. So I think you remain patient in that aspect. I think it'll just be a matter of time. Maybe a little more size on the other side would be beneficial. Just like who that player is, I don't know, because I love Niederreiter, Iafallo, and Lowry. I don't think you can't break that up. That's your remedy. That's once those guys get going and churning again, and Lowry's up to full speed, you've all of a sudden got your third line dominating games again, which is what the Jets so sorely need. So that's another part of their issues, is you're waiting for that third line to set the tone most nights when your top line isn't going. So to answer your question, I think patience remains in here. It's just finding the magic elixir. Like the fact that they have these 3 players that have such high hockey and are so smart in Nemestikov, Perfetti, and Toews. It might take some time. I don't know how much longer you remain patient with it before you start tinkering with it. But the hard part is you're not going to take anything away from the top line. You want to leave the third line alone. It's just what parts move for your fourth and second lines. This remains to be seen. But the fact that he is winning 60% of his faceoffs, I have all kinds of time for Jonathan Toews right now, because it's just a weapon that they have not had in such a long time.
Jamie, I have to ask you, if you remember the Seinfeld, get well soon, we want you to get well. You have to imagine that Neil Pionk has been uttering those words for some time. Not that he and Logan Stanley weren't working well together, but just given how good he is with Dylan Samberg. So is anybody happier? I know Scott O'Neill and the coaching staff are happy to have Dylan Samberg back in lineup, but is anyone happier than the Hermantown pair being back together?
Yeah, Neil doesn't really show his emotions very much during scrums. It's very matter of fact. Can't wait till this is over. But you could see a little bit of happiness when talking about Dylan Samberg. And again, this is no disrespect to Logan Stanley, because I think Dylan Samberg being hurt, it was the best thing that could happen for Logan Stanley, because it got him those opportunities, those minutes that he needed, right? And finally the fans off his back. So, Logan Stanley can play a lot more freer, if that makes any sense, because he's not worrying about what he's going to do in the next play, because now he has his confidence, because he's played so many minutes in tough minutes against the other team's best players, that confidence should stay with him on the third defense pairing. So that's another part where I don't want to, we can't use patience too much, because concern has to be there, but we have to be realistic that there are 3 key players missing from this roster. And the fact that they won as many games as they did without those guys on the roster and up to speed is pretty impressive. So to have your top 4 defensemen back, and we've seen the metrics and all those things that when Dylan Samberg's in the lineup, how much better Neil Pionk is in the Winnipeg Jets. It's only going to get better when Dylan Samberg gets up to speed and gets his legs underneath him. So they're getting healthier, which is about the time that somebody else is going to get hurt, because that's the way it's been going for them this year. But I think Neil Pionk's thrilled, and the coaching staff is thrilled, and Winnipeg Jets fans should be excited that Dylan Samberg's back as well.
Jamie Thomas, founder of Positivity and host of the Ground Control podcast.
Could change by the end of the show. Could be by the end of the game tonight. We might change it. I don't know.
We'll see. He's a guest here this Saturday morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's brought to you by our friends at Play Now. Jamie, Cole Perfetti is still a relatively young player in this league. But he's the driver of that line. We expect him to be the one who sort of brings that line forward and is the strength of that line. how difficult of a situation is it sort of, do you think, for him, or in the adjustment period, maybe more so than a difficult situation, in now having to sort of start the year, come back, and not necessarily be deferential to Jonathan Toews, but sort of find a way to be a driver of a line that you have a guy like Jonathan Toews alongside you, a guy who's so decorated, such a high pedigree. It's sort of got to be a little bit of a difficult situation for a player like Cole Perfetti.
Yeah, I think there might still be that, oh my God, Jonathan Toews is a Winnipeg Jet thing going on in the dressing room right now. Like, because I remember talking to Logan Stanley beginning part of the road trip. He said his daughter was in the weight room with with Jonathan Toews, and he said, I don't know if she realized just how cool of a moment that is. So there still is there. Holy crap, Jonathan Toews is on our team right now. So, and for Cole, that second line has to get going. So you can't tell me all of them don't feel the pressure of what's going on, because we've seen, which is usually what happens on the road against good defensive teams or good hockey teams, the top line can't drive everything the way it does at Canada Life Center. So the pressure is 100% on their shoulders. So he's a smart kid, obviously aware of what's going on right now. But I just think the chemistry has to get going, and they will have nights where they're going to have to drive, like this road trip, especially tonight in Calgary. I think he feels he's too smart of a kid to not understand the moment and what's going on here. And he also has the responsibility of now being the guy that replaces Nikolai Ehlers in that top power play unit. That's also a big moment, because Ehlers did drive a lot of the reasons why that top unit was so dominant last year. And it's still stunning to me that Kyle Connor hadn't scored a power play goal in almost a year. Like, that's the fact that they are first overall. That goes to show you how many options there are in that top line. And it's unfair of us to go, and point it out, but it is a guy that's pretty much a guaranteed 40 goal scorer. For him not to have a power play goal is mind boggling. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't exactly the prettiest goal either. So that's what happens when they'll start to go in. Finally, when the luck starts going your way, you need one like that, like Kyle Connor. So I think Cole Perfetti feels that he has to get the second line, or help get the second line going, and certainly the top power play unit, because they're going to need it to start winning games like it did last year, because it does just the way and how competitive the Central Division is, that you just need your special teams to be dominant the way it was, especially for the power play last season.
Jamie, you mentioned Logan Stanley, and that's actually who I wanted to ask you about, because as you know, he was criticized a lot last year, almost to the point where, I kind of got sick of the amount of people that were complaining about it, because I thought
Luke Schenn.
Well, sure, and Luke Schenn.
It's always like it moves. Say, listen, as it moves from one defenseman to another defenseman, it's like It's like I don't know how to describe it, but you guys have been here long enough. There's always a defenseman on the Winnipeg Jets that somebody can't stand and blames all their problems on. So unfortunately,
we call it Jamie. We call it the Mark Stewart rule.
I was wondering, because you guys have been here long enough to see where it all started, because this just didn't materialize. But I've seen it's just everybody. It's one guy's fault. It's mine. I can't even get it. I don't get it. But
if you want to go back to the original, I think it was Claude Noel and Johnny Oduya with the free pizzas.
I was going to say the free pizzas,
if you want to go way back.
That is the origin story of this.
You will not besmirch Johnny Oduya's name, Drew, on this show.
I was going to say, Drew, I don't know.
Hainsey tie-in.
No, I feel like Mark Stewart was more of a punching bag than Oduya. I think Oduya got pilloried because of the free pizza comment, but I'm not sure that he was necessarily the lightning rod for a fan base quite the way Mark Stewart was. So I think I would go with Mark Stewart as the origin. But anyways,
and Stu, I think, is doing just fine on the Edmonton Oilers bench, right? So I think he's carved himself a nice. He had a good career in the NHL as well, but he's carved himself a nice coaching career as well. But
I hope he takes credit for Evan Bouchard's offensive game, but not his defensive game. That's what I would say.
Oh my gosh,
Drew couldn't hold himself back.
We could have a show alone on that guy's turnovers. Like, I don't even. How is he making $10 million a year? And then I'll see him pass to Connor McDavid. Like, oh, yeah, that's why. Because he's just
because he's got the boost bomb.
It's not an Oilers show, but it's always worse somewhere else. Let's just go with that.
But just what have been your overall? It's all good. What have your overall impressions? Because I'm watching a guy who's by far playing the best hockey of his career. Like, you almost see, like Dave's been calling it a stand dangle. Like, you're almost seeing one of those every game. But I think it's worth noting that he's playing well. For a guy like you said, when Dylan Samberg was out of the lineup, obviously Logan Stanley, most people are not going to say he's a top 4 defenseman, but he played pretty well there. So I just think it's worth acknowledging his good play, considering that he was the whipping boy last year for a lot of the year.
Right, like the beginning part of the year. I can't remember what radio show I did. They're like, "Hey, ironically, they're like, who's the Winnipeg Jets whipping boy?" And I sat there for a second. They had a pretty good year. Who was I? I'm like, oh crap, Logan Stanley. That's right. The fact that we heard, and this is all credit to the fans too. The fact they recognized that his play is elevated, and they were chanting his name, and he's become like one of the favorite sons of the hockey team right now. Is full credit to the fan base for them recognizing how much he's picked up his game. But it's a great story. It's a lot of that stuff is unfair. Even we as analysts or experts or whatever you want to call it, media members, we get caught up in one mistake because we're waiting for it. We're watching like, oh, here's Logan Stanley. There's the mistake. There it is. He should not be in the lineup. And I remember Mike McCarthy when he was coaching the Green Bay Packers, and he said there's nobody in the NFL. You should never say that somebody can't play, because all these guys can play in the National Football League. And it goes even further in hockey, because they're just the way players are coming into the league now. It's like it's 10 times, 20 times better than it was when we were watching when we were kids. So it's unfair for any of us to sit there and say that guy can't play in the NHL. He may not be able to handle it that moment, but there's for sure he's a reason why he's in the National Hockey League. So for Logan Stanley to capitalize on this moment is fantastic. I hope he continues to grow, because the size that he has, as Zinger always says, can't teach size. And and you can see why they hesitated to trade him or move him. So the way he has played and continued and been consistent throughout the year all ties into opportunity, time on the ice, and people believing in him. And that's been a big story, and so huge for the Jets, because not having Dylan Samberg in the lineup would have killed a lot of teams in the NHL. And the fact that Jets have the depth that they do in the back end is another reason why they're 10-7.
So Jamie, the Jets are getting healthier. We've talked about some of the players who are already back in the lineup, and we know that Morgan Barron and Cole Koepke are around the corner. And Hayden Fleury is in concussion protocol, so he could be soon. He could not be. We don't really know. We'll have to wait for an update. But when those 3 are ready to return, presuming that nobody else goes on IR, the Jets are going to have to start making some decisions. Now, presumably, that those decisions will start at least with Nikita Chibrikov and Brad Lambert. Now, Lambert has 1 goal in his 4 games. Chibrikov has nothing in 8, but points to me are much less important. I know that obviously they're important to get, rather than those 2 players learning the system, being connected to the team. So if they need to be recalled in March or April, when you're starting to be more serious in the hunt or the chase or trying to, jockey for position, those guys aren't coming in cold and being like, well, now we got to learn. They're going to be much more familiar. They're going to be part of the team. How do you see it with those 2?
Yeah, I think you're right. Like especially with Brad Lambert, and it's unfairly so, when a first round pick comes in, everyone expects fireworks, and that's why they automatically assume that Brad Lambert should be in the top 6. Obviously, we've seen what the Winnipeg Jets have in their top 6, and it's unfortunately for their prospects, it's very hard to get in there, and you could even say so, even more so in the back end. So to take the little things, the lessons learned, their routes, their reads, all those things have to be considered for them to become solid NHLers. Again, going to the fact that they've been in and out is extremely difficult for them, because I'm sure they're feeling the pressure. Oh crap, when I'm in, I got to do something here so I can stay in the National Hockey League, because you can't tell me they don't know the team's getting healthier. They see the guys in the yellow jerseys coming the ice. They see them changing to blue or white. They're aware of it. So the amount of time that they've had and being around the NHL and for almost 2 months has to be beneficial for them going forward, and make them, I would hope, a little more hungry to come back again for the second time. So there is nothing wrong with what Brad Lambert and Nikita Chibrikov did in the limited minutes that they've had and the opportunities they've had. So I feel for Brad Lambert that this is probably the best he's played in the limited minutes he's had. He looks more confident. He seems more comfortable out there too. And it's not good for them to A, sit in the press box, and B, play in the fourth line. It's just, I mean, Chibrikov can play that role, and I think he could even fit in the third line as well sometimes. But that's not Brad Lambert's. That's not where he should be, right? So it's just, I'm glad that they've had this opportunity. I'm glad that Lambert got his goal, but I think it's just going to serve them better. And when eventually they do go down to the Manitoba Moose, it'll just load up another very impressive American Hockey League roster. And of course, when these injuries happen, because they're gonna, the way the schedule is, they'll be ready to come back into the National Hockey League.
So Jamie Thomas is our guest here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show Saturday morning. The program brought to you by Play Now. Morgan Barron, when he was in the lineup, was a bit of a revelation. You could argue that he was one of the most important players for the Jets during the early part of the season when they were on that winning streak. He was the guy who was, you put him up, you put him down the lineup, a penalty kill. He was a force to be reckoned with. His imminent return appears like it might be as early as Tuesday against Columbus if everything goes smoothly. What role does he return in for the Winnipeg Jets, Jamie? Does he go back as the fourth line center where Parker Ford has been? Is he get elevated up in the lineup? Does he maybe, I think earlier you had an answer where you talked about maybe a little more size playing with Taves and Perfetti. Is that Morgan Barron, that size that you envision there? You know, so Morgan Barron to me has really become a key cog for this team that can be deployed in so many different roles. Where do you see Scott Arniel deploying him come Tuesday night, assuming he's healthy on Tuesday night?
Yeah, the funny part is now that you say all that about the second line. So here, like Morgan Barron's obviously a very good fit on the third line too, right? So that you talk about the size, and then you follow up to the second line and move Nemestikov down to your center, right? Too. So like there are multiple options in that aspect. Because now that I think about it, I think like I'm a genius. Because the Barron on the third line is something where you're like Niederreiter, Barron, and Lowry. Are you kidding me? Like that's
but it's the speed.
Fair.
Sorry, Jamie. I think the speed that Morgan Barron, you know, with respect to Niederreiter and Lowry and Iafallo, none of the three of them are what you would describe as speed players. But when Morgan Barron gets going, he's got that sort of size and speed combination that I think is, you know, not many others on the Jets have that together in that role, in that sort of deployment. So that's why could you foresee him? Because I agreed, there's no question he could work on with Lowry, he could work with Niederreiter, but could he work with Perfetti and Taves?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I mean, I would like to see the opportunity, but having seen how this team is built and how Arniel likes to roll his players out, I just see Morgan Barron either as your fourth line center, I see Scott Arniel seeing Morgan Barron as a fourth line center or on the wing on the third line. And that is absolutely no disrespect because they've consistently used Iafallo or Nemestikov in the top six. That has been their go-to guys over and over and over again. And that's why Iafallo, when Perfetti was out on the top power play unit. So would I like to see Morgan Barron on the second line with Taves and Perfetti to add some size and speed? Yes. Will we see it? I think it'd be unlikely. Is that fair?
That's fair. It's an answer. Yeah. Hey, you didn't fence it. I like an answer.
Listen, I'm getting, after 9 years with you guys, I'm finally starting to learn how to not fence it as a member and a guy that gets paid from True North Sports and Entertainment. How's that guy? You like
That's
that?
Good. I like it. You bring the analysis.
I should put Jamie Thomas drinking the blue Kool-Aid should also go at the
bottom. Jamie, it's a good thing you get paid by the Jets.
Blue background.
Yeah. All of the checks so far have bounced, unfortunately. We apologize for that as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I wanted to ask you about the division because, you know, we obviously are focused on game to game. We're focused on the Flames and the Jets tonight, obviously.
Right.
And then we're gonna immediately starting tomorrow, we're gonna talk about the Jets and the Blue Jackets, and then the Jets and the Canes. Obviously, that's exciting. Actually, let's go there. Instead of going to the Central Division,
as he's pivoting.
Next Friday, obviously. Well, you know, we only have Jamie Thomas on so many times a year, so you got to get into the good stuff. Next Friday, Jets Canes. Obviously, it's going to be a huge ovation for Nick Ehlers. We're all expecting that. It's not like anybody's talking about, you know, are some people going to be booing Nick Ehlers? No, I don't think there's. I mean, there might be that one guy who's had too many beers that might boo.
It does happen on Fridays, yeah.
Right. So that might happen, but I think. just if you can speak to just how special that of a moment that's going to be for Nick Ehlers, who obviously had a great career, and a lot of Jets fans were obviously, hoping that he'd stay here, but he moved on to Carolina, where he has been struggling to score some goals. He's starting to score some goals now, but if you can just address that, how special a night that's going to be in Canada Life Center.
The one thing I will say with the National Hockey League when they schedule the Winnipeg Jets and opponents from the Eastern Conference, they like to get over and done with. Remember how fast Florida was last year? It was like opening night, and like 3 weeks later, this is like Carolina within, I think it's within exactly a week. Yeah. So they'll get the Nick Ehlers things out of the way. A lot of people will ask, why did the Jets try and keep Nikolai Ehlers? And I think a lot of things gets forgotten, where I think Nick Ehlers wanted another opportunity somewhere else. So it wasn't so much and I don't think they made it more clear that they had full interest in keeping him, and they were in constant conversation with his representatives. But then when I see Nikolai Ehlers playing with Sebastian Aho and Seth Jarvis, Winnipeg's own, you could kind of understand why he wanted the opportunity to lead, because that just wasn't going to happen here, right? It's just, he wasn't going to play on the top line, and sure, maybe he felt he belonged there, but the way the Jets play and the responsibility of that top line going up against the other team's best just didn't suit him, right? It wasn't his best role. So I could see why he left in that aspect, and especially when I see him play with Aho and Jarvis. It will be great. I think it will be probably the second biggest one behind Blake Wheeler, for what Wheeler did for the organization. He was the captain and so on and so forth. But Nick Ehlers was just such a player that even us four, whenever he got the puck in his stick, like, what's going to happen now? Mm-hmm. And there's not many of those guys in the league. So defensive inefficiencies off to the side, because when somebody has the puck that much or is that creative and likes to do things, he's going to turn the puck over a bit. There's nobody like that. There's it's him and Dustin Byfuglien and Patrick Laine, where you're like, holy cow, wait, when he has the puck or anything, you're waiting for something to happen. And this is no disrespect to Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor, because you're watching, but those three players that I just listed, it was must-see TV whenever they had the puck or whatever, watching to see if something happened. And they're all unicorns, all three of them, in their own different ways. So I can't wait to see it. I think it would be emotional for all of us. There's nobody easier to deal with. Mm-hmm. There's nobody easy to talk to after a game, even after, no matter how bad the loss was. Nobody that you knew was going to say play their meat off. Be like, you knew Nick Ehlers, say, the saves he was going to save, but just a good person to talk to. I watched him on the road while tons of players do everything in their power and not to sign autographs. Nick Ehlers signed all autographs, right? This is on the road where it's dudes waiting outside with their binders full of cards. Nick's signing all of those cards, all the other players, and for good reason. They're just let's get going here. If it's kids, yes, but Jet Fan Fest, beginning part of the year, if you ever interviewed them on the stage, who's stopping? It's Nick Ehlers to sign autographs. And he wouldn't just sign for a little bit. He'd sign for a very long time, to the point where they got to move him off. So nobody understood their role and how important they were to the community than I would say Nick Ehlers in that aspect. From an autograph signing department, I know guys do great things in the community, but Nick Ehlers is just a genuine kid, a genuine person. So I have all kinds of time for him, and I hope he gets the ovation he deserves, because man, it was so much fun when he was here. I remember when he signed his first contract, the 6/6 or whatever it was, when I first got here. Him and Patrick Laine together, inseparable. They're and the jolt that he gave that top power play unit last year, all those things. I really hope Jets fans remember just how fun it was when he was here, because he was a big reason for a lot of their success. Sure, there were the turnovers, but dude, when you have the puck as much as he did, or as exciting, it was all worth it. So I'm hoping. I can't wait to see the video thing. I can't wait to see the fans appreciate it. And I hope there's a moment, the timing's perfect, so he can get the standing ovation he deserves, because it was just so much fun. And he's just such a good person that I can't wait for Friday.
Yeah. Although it's interesting, Jamie, I was looking at his minutes. He's only a few seconds over his average for when he played in Winnipeg. So it is funny because
now let's get into that, Dave.
Dave, look at the system that where he's going is even tighter defensively than what the Jets are playing. It's just Rod Brindamore is it clamps down like this when it comes to defensive structure.
Yeah.
So it's ironic, Dave,
Mhm.
that the minutes are exactly the same because it's where he's most useful. And it's not like these coaches are idiots. That's the other part where I'm like looking like, how can two coaches, and especially a coach that has had as much success that Rod Brindamore has had with the Carolina Hurricanes. Sure, he hasn't been able to get him to the hump, but it's a pretty competitive Eastern Conference. But how many Eastern Conference finals those guys been to? That's a good hockey team. So not to criticize Nick, but there's something there where you realize somebody's effective for a certain amount of minutes, and there's almost like a rocket science to it that has made it so. So I want Nick to have success, and I hope the Carolina Hurricanes go to the Stanley Cup final and stuff like that, and lose the Winnipeg Jets in a perfect world. But there's something to it where sometimes you're just something you're not good at, and sometimes defensive responsibility is something Nick Ehlers is not his top priority.
Well, you mentioned the Stanley Cup. Before the Stanley Cup, of course, there's the Olympics in February.
Yeah.
And one of the things, when it comes to the Jets, we know the American players who are going to go. We know, but with the Canadian ones, Josh Morrissey had a little bit of a slow start, but he's been on fire. A point a game guy. Mark Scheifele, no slow start for Mark Scheifele. Of course, he's first Jets player up to 10 goals. So, from your perspective, how much do you think it's impacting Scheifele more than Morrissey? Because Morrissey's seen as a lock for Team Canada. Scheifele obviously is a bubble guy. So from your perspective,
absolutely a lock.
I said Morrissey's a lock, but Scheifele's a bubble guy. I don't think there's any question about that when you look at what has been put out there. So from your perspective, Jamie, how much do you think, or if it at all, do you think it is impacting Mark's thought process throughout the course of leading up to the decision by Team Canada?
Okay, so he's 32 years old. I think it weighs on him way more, right? Because you're like, there's with Bedard and Celebrini and whoever the heck else is coming into the league after this. I think this is Mark's only window. This is his lone chance. Maybe he could play at the World Championships. I don't know, or the World Cup. Who knows? But this is his last chance to play for the Olympics, unless he's like at 36 is still lighting it up. My concern is all of a sudden the conversation of Mark Scheifele should be on the Olympic team. I'm hearing hesitation on TSN panels and like, oh, maybe we should bring in Celebrini and Bedard. I'm like, whoa. Celebrini and Bedard have been fantastic. But just last year, Bedard was written off from that whole conversation. And it's exciting. And yes, I know every night when you're like the producer's like, okay, let's talk about the roster of Canada's Olympic team again for the 7th time this week. And they're like, we can't just keep saying the same people. This is coming from, I know. I remember all this stuff. You can't keep saying the same names. So I'm pretty sure with the way the Mark was playing earlier in the year that Hockey Canada knows that's the Mark Scheifele and has to understand on the road it's a little different on the road because it's last change. The Jets are a little thin or are not getting a lot of scoring from their other 3 lines. I would hope that Doug Armstrong and them are smart enough to realize that. So, but to your point, Dave, it's got to be weighing on him. It has to be because he's smart enough to recognize that this is his last chance to play at the Olympics for Canada. And you saw what it did for Josh Morrissey's confidence. Imagine what being with Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid. Like as a Jets fan, you should hope that Mark Scheifele makes the Olympic team because of everything that he will learn from those players in a high impact, high pressure situation. Like Josh Morrissey has been at the peak outside of the fact that he was sick for the championship game against the United States. But he was in that building in Montreal when they played the Americans in the craziest game I've ever seen and the most intense game I've seen in terms of international hockey. That's only going to help. So you should pray as a Jets fan that Scheifele makes this team because it's just going to make him better, like at another level of understanding what you have to do to be successful, to learn from those players. That alone would make me want to make that team just to play with Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid. I don't have to go down the list of the name because just when you look at the roster that they're rolling out or they could roll out if they choose certain places, that's why February it's going to be worth it to have 3 weeks off from the Winnipeg Jets because of the hockey that we're going to see. Because just remember the 10 days of hockey that we saw at the Four Nations Faceoff. Yeah, it's going to another level after that because guys have been waiting to play for their country at the Olympics for so long. That's why we have to hope as Jets fans and employees, speaking for myself, that Mark Scheifele makes that team.
Jamie Thomas is the host of the Ground Control podcast, the co-host of the Check-In pregame shows. He's also the Winnipeg Jets team reporter, and he's a good friend of ours. First and
part-time team reporter Mitchell Clinton takes up the responsibilities on the road, so I should put part-time team reporter.
But you're also the founder of Positivity, which is not what Mitchell.
That's full. That's a full-time role.
You know what, guys? You can't be positive about these late starts. This has been a horrible road trip.
I agree.
Get
the boys back to Winnipeg.
Like,
it's been awful.
Getting up at 6 the next day, it's like, and when they lose, it's the worst. I'm writing 3 things. I'm like, who cares about this stupid article? I don't care. Hurry up, Scott Arneal. I'm like transcribing for Weber, and he's so positive all the time. I'm so sick and tired of these stupid transcriptions. I'm like, I don't take this, shove it up your butt, Weber. I don't care. I don't want to do this anymore.
We appreciate those transcriptions because we've been using them on because nobody's been on the road really, so we've been using the quotes in some of our post game coverage. So in addition to Weber appreciating it, we also appreciate it just the same.
Thank you guys, I appreciate that.
It is unanimous that it's time for the West Coast start times to be done for at least the next little while. Jamie, thank you, buddy.
No problem, guys. Enjoy your day. Enjoy the game tonight.
Exactly. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you. Catch up to you again real soon, bud. Jamie Thomas. There he goes. Commercial-free hour number 1. That's how we do it here. Saturday mornings on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. All that means, though, is we're going to have to catch up and pay some bills. So let's do that. Much more Jets talk to come. Jeff Marek at the bottom of hour number 2. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's presented by Play Now. Don't go anywhere.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
We are back, hour number 2 of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Jeff Marek set to join us at the bottom of the hour in about 20 or so minutes time. For now, though, Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, big thank you to all of our sponsors. Oh yes, these are the people who make it possible for this show to continue. Of course, all of you do your job by showing up each and every Saturday morning.
And smashing the like button.
Smashing the like button, and after each and every Winnipeg Jets game, of course, but have to pay tribute to our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. What a weekend at Rumors. J.R. de Guzman has been here since Thursday. Sold out shows all over the place. There's about 4 tickets left for the late show tonight. Get them at rumorscomedyclub.com.
I'll take them.
As he's saying, good, done. Those 4 tickets are gone immediately. Play Now, they're the title sponsor. Holt Dental, they got Ezzy to his grill, very important. City Place, Friday, we'll be at City Place. That's this coming Friday, 6 days from now. The return of Nikolai Ehlers. That warrants a 12 noon edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. So be sure to join us in the City Place food court on Friday at 12 noon, live here on our YouTube channel as well. But if you're in the downtown Winnipeg area, come join us Friday at City Place. Looking forward to that. As always, our friends at Wheatland Hockey, they give you the heads up hockey play of the game on the post-game show. Boston Pizza will be there in about 2 weeks' time. The Jets play the Montreal Canadiens on a Wednesday. So that Jets-Habs game is on Wednesday, December the 3rd. Have a holiday hootenanny with Illegal Curve at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. So we're looking forward to that. Wednesday, December the 3rd, live on location, watch party, post-game show. Mark that in your calendars. It's the Illegal Curve holiday hootenanny. And, of course, our friends at Label Daddy, where if you are like Ezzy and you need to label your roast chickens, you can get your labels at labeldaddy.com. Look forward to that. And look forward to seeing Ezzy's labeled roast chickens. Always
I don't know like how much you guys have been looking at the Eastern Conference standings recently, but you have a 3-way tie in the Atlantic Division for first place with 22 points. The difference between 3rd place and 8th place in the Eastern Conference right now, guys, is separated by 1 point. What I'm trying to say is
hashtag parity.
What I'm trying to say is, yes, the standings are really close, and there's lots of parity in the Eastern Conference.
So getting back to the Winnipeg Jets. We know the 12 forwards, likely who the 12 forwards are going to be for the Winnipeg Jets this evening in Calgary. And of course, the Jets morning skate will be happening in a few hours' time. Coverage of that available on illegalcurve.com once it happens, given the late start. So it'll be a little bit later on with the Jets morning skate.
Their morning skate is 1:30 Central here.
That's what I'm saying. It's a morning skate in Calgary, not a morning skate in Winnipeg.
It's a mid-afternoon skate.
Who's out of the lineup come Tuesday? Assume Barron and Koepke are back, at least as options, because I'm not assuming that Kepke's necessarily in the lineup. But when the Jets are fully at health, they got the 14 forwards. Who is out of the lineup for the Winnipeg Jets? I'll start with you, Dave. We've heard enough from Ginsburg already. Wow. Who's out of the lineup for the Winnipeg Jets once Barron and Koepke are back to full health?
Yeah, I mean, I think Barron replaces Parker Ford at that 4th line center role, and I think that Koepke replaces Pearson. So my guess would.
Let me interrupt. So just so we're clear, you have Koepke ahead of Pearson?
Yeah, I think he's more effective. I know he hasn't scored, but I think he's a more effective player. So. I think he's faster. I think he's better. He's more useful on the penalty kill. And so I would think that he's more versatile. I think you'd keep Koepke in over Pearson. So I think Pearson moves to become your 13th forward. I think that Ford's waiver exempt, so you can send him down to the Moose without having to worry about it. And so that to me becomes the easy move. Again, I've liked Parker's game, but I'm not sure he's done anything that you're like, well, you can't take him out of the lineup. He's been too valuable. So I just think it's a function of like those are the moves that make sense to me. Morgan Barron, it's not even a question. I mean, I guess the question could be, which is what we've kind of spent the morning talking about, is are you going to give him more opportunity? And you could. I mean, again, if you want to move him to the wing on Taves' line, add some size, you could move Nemestikov to the fourth line center. So, I mean, those two, you could always do that. And then, Barron's got size and speed, so he could help that second line. But again, Nemestikov does have the 6 goals, so I mean, it's nothing to hold your nose at. But I would suspect, again, just in terms of the replacements, not necessarily where they're going, Drew, but the replacements to me coming out are Ford and Pearson and replaced by Barron and Koepke.
Yeah, and
I'll ask you the same question, but the addendum I'll put on it is, where does Barron go in? We asked Jamie that in the previous segment. Where does Barron fit in? Does he potentially slot in higher up in the lineup than he's ever played really before? So, and if so, or depending on where he plays in the Jets lineup, how does that sort of the domino effect of that related to the other guys who are in the Jets lineup?
I think we already talked about it earlier. I think Morgan Barron absolutely can play up the lineup, meaning not in a bottom 6, third, fourth line role, like playing with basically Cole Perfetti. That's what we're talking about. Right. Yes, could he play with Lowry and Niederreiter? Sure, that's an option. I've said this before on the show, boys. Like, obviously, Scott Arniel doesn't take his cues from me. I'm not a thought leader for Scott Arniel, but I like Morgan Barron up the middle. I've said that before. And it's not just winning faceoffs. We're not going to get into that because Garrett Hole's not going to be happy with us if we spend too much time talking about faceoffs. But I just like how he plays up the middle. I think he's more effective. We're not going to get into the F1, all that type of stuff on the forecheck and everything like that. I'm just saying, like, I just think when we've seen him up the middle, you untap a little bit more of an offensive side to his game. But I think, Drew, that when let's say Morgan Barron comes back Tuesday against Columbus, I think my best bet, if I can get the words out of my mouth here, would be that Barron goes in on the fourth line center. Parker Ford comes out of the lineup. And I think, to Dave's point, I think Ford's done a good job in his, 10 or 11 games that he's played. He doesn't have any goals, but I think he's done a nice job because, let's be honest, if there weren't these injuries, he most likely wouldn't have played this many games, right? Like, he was a guy that, you expected to play that 13th forward role, or, as Dave said, because of his waiver status, maybe, he was going to spend some time with the Moose, but I think that's what you're going to see. Another guy that we're not really talking a lot about, who I mentioned during the first hour, that nobody's really talking about elevating up the lineup, is Gus Nyquist, right? Like, Gus Nyquist, guys, kind of seems to me like a guy who's a little bit lost in this lineup. Like, Nyquist on the fourth line, like, kind of does it doesn't really fit in.
It doesn't make a lot of sense there. So let me interrupt you. But when Koepke's back,
well, I think it's more. I think as it is now, it's Barron, Koepke, Nyquist is your fourth line.
But why Nyquist? Why Nyquist over Pearson? If we just said that Nyquist doesn't really make a ton of sense in that fourth line role, hasn't really been impactful.
Well, he could be a healthy scratch, Drew. That's kind of what I'm saying here. Like, I realize, look, Gus Nyquist has had a great career. What does he have? Like 800, 900 games of NHL experience, right? Like, he's had an amazing career with Detroit and other teams, right? Most recently, he was on the Nashville Predators, right? But Gus Nyquist right now, guys, he's got to be scoring. Like, Nyquist is not a fourth line grinder. Let's be honest. Cole Koepke is, right? Like, all due respect to Cole Koepke, I'm saying that from a guy who is a third pairing grinder in his River Heights Cardinals days. I'm saying that with utmost respect. Like, Koepke, I like Koepke on that fourth line. I'm not saying that that in a negative way. I'm just saying Gus Nyquist on that line with Morgan Barron and Cole Koepke. I don't know. It's like, I guess we're talking about could Scott Arniel pick Pearson over Nyquist in a fourth line role, and I think he could, Dave.
Or even Parker Ford. I mean, I know that Ford has the waiver exemption, and so that definitely plays against him in this instance.
When have the Jets taken a risk in that regard?
Almost never. I mean, almost never. Almost never. I mean, they
That's
did,
what
I
I'm
guess,
saying.
at the end of training camp with Heinola potentially losing.
But
him
was
on
that a
waivers.
risk at this point? Do they really care?
Probably not a significant risk. I don't think.
No,
they
I
care.
mean, Scott O'Neill basically said if anybody wants him, like it wasn't. I'm just saying that
available for nothing.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just saying like I don't know that it's the organization's history would suggest otherwise, that they don't take that sort of risk, and that's why I mean we had the comment earlier, like, well, we know that Scott O'Neill prefers to only have 7D, but are they going to again take a risk and put a defenseman on? You can keep 2 forwards up in theory, or you could send 4 down and a defenseman, right? So will they do that? I mean, I don't think so. I think that they know that with the injury situation, even though that they could call up Salamonson or Heinola or Clegg from the Moose, the fact of the matter is that I just don't know that the Jets look at that and say, well, we want to take that risk. So, I mean, when you're asking me the question, my answer would be that it really, again, Ford, send him the waivers, send him down, no waivers, so you don't have to worry about that. And then, I mean, again, I'm not saying it has to be. I just think that Pearson versus Koepke, again, it's always about what can you do. And Pearson is again, what are his minutes? Like he's again, I mean, the other thing also is Cole Koepke did have 10 goals last year. It's not like he wasn't able to score. He hasn't had any luck this year. He's had a couple of good chances, he made that fancy move a couple of times where he's tried to dangle, but
I wonder, I mean, it's sort of ironic that, a player gets injured. You never want a player to get injured, but you do wonder, Cole Koepke was clearly like gripping the stick a little bit tight. There were opportunities where, he's second guessing what seemed like pretty clear shot opportunities.
Right.
You wonder with this, unfortunate timing about the injury, not a long-term injury, so it hasn't derailed him. I mean, overwhelmingly, I would say. But you wonder, does that give him maybe an opportunity to sort of clear the mind when it came to the goal scoring struggles? Because he's had so many opportunities.
Yeah.
You're out of the lineup through no fault of your own. You miss a few games because of these injuries. Does that allow you to sort of almost reset when it comes to the goal scoring drought that you've been in?
And the other thing I was going to say is that, I mean, it's not like Tanner Pearson didn't have success last year. I mean, he had 12 and 15 for Vegas, right? So, I mean, he was able to produce as well. So, again, neither guy's having a tremendous amount of success, but the fact of the matter is that the Jets need to, again, it's about trying to find an identity, right? As in, we used to say, oh, finally the Jets had a fourth line that had an identity last year. And now it's about trying to it's almost like putting spare parts. I agree, Nyquist is an unusual choice. And maybe, you do sit him in favor of Barron, Pearson, and Koepke as your fourth line because
you're going to have a fourth line with 0 goals scored on the year so far. Funny.
Pearson's got a couple goals. If he's
Pearson has 2 goals.
Sorry, Pearson has 2 on. You're right.
Yeah, but
I was talking about Nyquist and Koepke and
they're still looking for the first goal. That's kind of what sorry to jump in here, Dave, but what I was going to say is short term, I think you're just putting the 3 guys out there who you think are going to give you the best opportunity to win and produce goals, right? Because you need more. Again, Gus Nyquist, they didn't bring him in here to be a fourth line checker. That's not what they brought him in here to do, right? It just isn't. That's not the type of player he is. And so right now, you almost have to ask yourself, again, I'm not, being anti Gus Nyquist right now. I'm just saying, what is his role on this team? I really don't know what it is at this point because he hasn't been very effective so far through, 11 or 12 games.
When Taves, Nyquist, and Niederreiter played together, and they played about 27 minutes together. So it's, again, these are all small sample sizes. They got caved into an expected goals percentage of 31%. So Taves and Nyquist hasn't done anything together as a unit or as a duo that you see much hope for if you move them back up the lineup. And frankly, he hasn't done enough to warrant being higher up in the lineup. And then, is to your point, he's not a prototypical fourth line player. So where does he fit? Where does he slot in? The Jets obviously, and again, the old adage, it's been something we've said on this show for many a year, is that there's no such thing as a bad 1-year contract because who cares? Money's not going to impact you. If you have to stash him in the press box because there's not a role for him and a slot for him that's obvious, fine, so be it. You've already paid the money. It's a sunk cost at that point in time. No need to compound an error by keeping a guy in a lineup, but putting him in a situation where he's not going to thrive. And I think that's what, the fourth line for the Winnipeg Jets should be able to win its minutes. They should be able to win, especially if Morgan Barron is on that fourth line. If Morgan Barron is your fourth line center on a fourth line, that should be a easy minute win, whether he's got Cole Koepke next to him, or if he's got Tanner Pearson next to him, or he's got Parker Ford next to him, or whomever it is. The Jets should be able to win those minutes. Right now, it hasn't necessarily happened that way as much as you would like to see it.
Well, and I think part of that, sorry, Drew, I was going to say, I think part of that is as it's been a revolving door. Like, I know people don't necessarily like hearing that, but like, it's been basically a different fourth line every 2 or 3 games, right, Dave? Mm-hmm. So I think that's factoring in as well. So I think, for Scott Arniel, we've been talking about this a lot this morning. I mean, the Jets are going to be at full health pretty soon, right? Like, they're getting very close to being at full health, which they haven't been all year long. So I think Scott Arniel is looking at the Calgary game, but he's also looking at the Columbus game coming up. He's looking at the Carolina game, and he's saying, like, now that we're fully healthy, what do I want my ideal fourth line to be? And I think he's probably, Arniel and the coaching staff are having these discussions, and they're saying, like, are we going to keep Pearson? Because that's basically kind of what it's between. It's between Pearson and Nyquist, and you could have a platoon situation, right, Dave, where these guys are coming into the lineup, and whoever's playing better. And Drew's right, Parker Ford is an option still as well. I just think Barron comes back in the fourth line center role, and then if I had to guess, I would say Pearson and Koepke, and I think Nyquist might be a healthy scratch as early as Tuesday.
Barron, Koepke, and Pearson have played 41 minutes together at 5-on-5. They've been caved in. 37% expected goals.
Yeah, that's a very small sample size.
Of course, it's a very small sample size, but it's sort of ironic that for the Jets, with the exception of Connor, Scheifele, and Velarde, and I think it speaks to the revolving door of injuries and players in and out of the lineup, aside from Connor, Scheifele, and Velarde, the line that has played the most minutes together at 5-on-5 so far this year, Dave, is Iafallo, Taves, and Nemesnikov, and they've played 51 minutes together. So the Jets haven't really been able to get a significant number of minutes from, with lines all together, with lines how maybe they envisioned it at the start of training camp, because of the injuries, because of the ups and downs and the roster shuffling that has occurred. So we really haven't seen, for any lengthy runway, the Winnipeg Jets forward group, defense too, of course, with Dylan Sandberg out of the lineup, but the forward group, how I'm sure Scott Arniel had it penciled in on day one of training camp, they haven't really seen it all together, with the exception of Connor, Scheifele, and Velarde.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you just laid out the numbers, right? So, I mean, I can't really refute anything you're saying, and you're not trying to tailor or build in excuses for the Winnipeg Jets. We try and deal with facts, right? And it's not a...
I like alternative facts myself, Dave.
I don't think there's any question about that, Big Daddy. But I think what it comes down to, though, is that, there's no question that you're trying to figure out where the chemistry is. And I think Ezzy's point is right. You just need to put out the best line that you can, because you're not really in the position to be like, we can give these guys runway of 5 games and we'll figure it all out.
You're past that point, right, Dave?
You are. And again, I know it's late in the season. I know it's like still early in the season, but it's kind of late in the season. And yes, Lowry and Perfetti were big pieces out of your lineup, but they're back. You got to get it figured out. Got to start tonight in Calgary, and then move on to try and regain some home balance and figure it out here at home.
Yeah, well, the Jets have one more road game. That's tonight in Calgary. It's a late start. Those 9 o'clock games, I know the 6 o'clock games don't really start till 6:10. I think the 9 o'clock games, hopefully they start closer to 9, but they might be.
They don't, though. Have you noticed they've been like 9:05, 9:06? Yeah, they've definitely been like not starting on time.
Okay,
this road trip. This road trip needs to end, because I don't know if you guys track your sleep, but I do, and my sleeping patterns have been like, honestly, the Jets games, like it's like
mine's no different.
Yeah, we know you're nocturnal. You don't have to get up at the ass crack of dawn like Ginsburg and I do to get.
What are you talking about? I'm up.
You're a bat.
I'm up first thing in the morning.
Sure.
Right at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, define first thing. There you go. When the clock strikes double digits, that's when Dave gets away.
Oh, please. I'm up at 7.
Dave, you're a raccoon.
15.
In any event, post game later tonight.
Shout out to Rat Carney.
Just so you know, the post game might start a few minutes later than typical. It might be a little bit closer to midnight, depending on when the post game, the Jets game ends. We might need.
You better hope for overtime there, Drew.
What's that?
You better hope for overtime.
It's okay. Just letting everyone know that if we don't start sort of as early as we usually do or as promptly as we usually do. We'll be there. It just might be a couple minutes later than normal.
Two of three will be there.
Two of the three will be there. We're trying to figure out schedules to make sure that we bring you the post-game show tonight. We're all so popular and so busy that sometimes it's hard for us to figure everything out and get things going. Let's jump into our first commercial break. I see Jeff Marek is setting up backstage. Jeff, we got a couple minutes still, so take your time. We'll come back with Jeff Marek here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling sites instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Bottom of the hour, we welcome to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show our good friend Jeff Marek. Jeff, our apologies for making you sit through those commercials. I know you saw some Oscar-winning acting going on there. Just your thoughts, I guess.
A couple of things quickly. I love the dentistry one because I always think back to a conversation that I had. This is years. It might have been, where were we? We're up north, like way up north, for a hockey day in Canada. I remember out to dinner with Trevor Linden. And I'll never forget this. I said, when did it finally dawn on you that you had retired? Because when you play your last game, it really doesn't always feel like it's your last game. Like, okay, like there's still more, right? And he said something that always stuck with me. He said, it didn't really hit me that I was retired until I was in the dentist chair getting my teeth fixed. Because there's no point in fixing your teeth while you're playing hockey.
Right.
Chances are you're going to get them messed up anyway. But he goes, the gravity of retirement only sank in when I was in the chair and my dentist started working on my teeth. And it's funny, I've asked other players that too, and they've had the same experience. It doesn't hit you until you get in the dentist chair, because you fix your teeth, there's no going back. I also, by the way, there is one player in the NHL who you guys know very well, specifically from last year in the opening round, who did get his teeth fixed and has the best teeth in the NHL, and they are brighter than the sun, and that is Robert Thomas. Robert Thomas of the St. Louis Blues has the best teeth in the NHL. I just can't believe that he already got them done this early in his career, but that guy has, hands down, the brightest smile in the NHL. So that's what I can add to your cluster of ads from a couple of seconds ago. That was the one that stuck with me.
So the vanity of Robert Thomas is impacting the St. Louis Blues clearly so far this season.
He's blinded them. He's blinded the goaltenders. The goaltenders are so hard to hit in St. Louis now because Robert Thomas's teeth are too white.
Oh, that's a good one. Jeff, thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate you.
I do apologize for the look. I've just come out from the backyard. It's rink making day at the Marek household today.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is a big day. It's an annual tradition. My one kid was supposed to have a practice, but he's sick, so I've decided to make it rink making day here. We started this in 2015.
Is it cold enough?
No. We're just putting the boards up.
Oh,
so when it is cold enough, you put the liner down and then you start filling it up, which, here in Southwestern Ontario, probably doesn't happen till in a good year, a week before Christmas. But really, we're probably looking at, that transition week between the end of December and the beginning of January, as everybody in Winnipeg scoffs at me.
No,
we have rinks in August.
It's 15 degrees in Winnipeg. The Grey Cups here this weekend, as I'm sure you're aware, the weather has been unbelievable. Everybody that's come to Winnipeg for the Grey Cup is sitting around looking and like, what happened to Winterpeg? It's 15 degrees outside. It's sunny. People wearing shorts and t-shirts. It's unseasonably warm.
Shattering all my stereotypes about Winnipeg. Like, I'm one of these unique people that doesn't ever complain about the cold. Like, I like the cold. I really enjoy that in Canada we have 4 distinct seasons. I think that makes us in some ways better people, because we all have to pull together to endure through 4 different seasons. I think it's a big part of what it goes into being Canadian, but you'll never hear me complaining about the cold. Like, I am at my happiest around midnight during the hockey season when I take a break and I go and I flood the rink, and I'm out in the country. So I don't hear cars, I hear coyotes, and it's just me and the rink rake and back and forth, and it's beautiful and it's calm, just me and my German Shepherd, and it's chilly. Oh, that to me is heaven. Give me that all day.
That's very Canadian.
Jeff.
Nice to hear.
What's that?
Amen.
Yeah, I know, right? It's the best. It's the coolest feeling in the world. I love it.
I don't know why Ezzy's saying amen. He doesn't have a German Shepherd and he doesn't have a rink, so I don't know what the hell he's saying amen about there. But
no, it's just the way Jeff was romanticizing the Canadian winters. I mean, that's I agree with him. I love the winter.
And they say this country has no poets, gentlemen. And they say this country has no poets.
Yeah. Let's play some Tragically Hip right now, Drew.
Yeah, there you go. If it wasn't for the YouTube strike. Yeah. Jeff, thanks for joining us. Thanks for jumping on with us. Want to look around the league. Start here in Winnipeg. The Jets are in a bit of a struggle. They've been, they're 1-4 in their last 5. They've been on this lengthy 2-week West Coast road trip. From a record of 9, and I guess let me do some quick math. 9-2, I guess, to 9-3 to start the trip. Now they're up to 10-7. Is it just sort of natural that they'd fall back down to earth given some of the injuries and other things, or do you think that there's more troubling signs afoot for
injuries? Injuries definitely a factor. As the reality that all teams go through. Definitely a factor. I think that. How do I put this? The Toronto Maple Leafs are going through something similar that the Winnipeg Jets are going through, and that is they're slower. Like, this is a slower Winnipeg Jets squad, and it's not just Ehlers is gone, so we're going to be slower. Like in Toronto, Marner's gone, so we're going to be slower. Like again, like we're not even at the 20 game mark for either team, so everything is said here with a grain of salt. but it's a team that looks slower. I still maintain it's one of the smartest teams in the NHL. I think it's a highly intelligent, high IQ hockey team. But right now, early on in the season, it is, and this does sort of, level out throughout the season. You always find it. The teams that get their legs early are the ones that succeed early. I don't have any concerns about the Winnipeg Jets making the playoffs. Although I will add the one caveat here. Something happens every year. Every season, something happens that nobody likes to talk about when it's their team specifically. Every year, a 100-point team from the year previous misses the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And going into this season, I thought it was going to be, it's just going to be the LA Kings. After that, I can't see any team missing the playoffs. Although now I look at the Toronto Maple Leafs and I go, I wonder if it could be them. I'm not there with the Winnipeg Jets, but watching Jordan Eberle pitch a tent in front of the net, I go to myself, maybe I should be thinking about the Winnipeg Jets here. Listen, getting players back is certainly helping. They have one of the best goaltenders in the world, Mark Scheifele's playing out of his mind, and Josh Morrissey's going to be a Norris Trophy candidate like he already is. They just look slower. They just look slower to me, and they need a second line center, and they do. They need a second line center.
Absolutely. I don't think we're going to disagree with that. We were big part of the first part of the show, Jeff, we were talking about Jonathan Toews, and I think Jonathan Toews, he's picked up where he left off in the face-off circle. He's at 60%, but right now that second line, they're just not, right now it's Toews, Perfetti, and Nemesnikov, and they're not getting enough offense out of that second line. So you're bang on.
And the thing about Perfetti too, as you guys well know, and all of your audience does, he's coming back from injury as well. I'm glad you mentioned Perfetti because it allows me to say one thing. On the heels of the Shane Pinto contract, that was the player that I thought of, was Cole Perfetti, right? Because you always look at the cascading effects. Like, okay, that's what Shane Pinto got. And right away you go back and you look at the numbers and you look at the comparables, and they pretty much played the same amount of games. Pinto's played 228 and Perfetti's played 225. Now Pinto has more goals, 60 to 47. Perfetti has 79 assists to Pinto's 62. And when it comes to points, Pinto has 122 and Cole Perfetti has 126. Is that the model for the next Cole Perfetti deal? Are we looking at the bump to 7.5 for Cole Perfetti? I'm sure that if I'm the agent, that's the way that I'm leaning. Like, let's talk about the Shane Pinto deal. But that was the first player that I thought of was Cole Perfetti, because the numbers, outside of, one has more goals and the other has more assists, the numbers are near identical. With the
7.5 seems so quaint as a number. It's like, it's a bargain you get a player for only 7.5 right now.
Yeah. I know. Well, and listen, we're gonna get it's a great point too, because it's the one thing you need to consider, and we need to start to get more comfortable with. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a lot of numbers that pop up, this season and into the summer that are going to feel like, this turtleneck is too tight around my neck. This is like suffocating. But you look at it in the big picture where the salary cap is going. It may feel like it's a tight turtleneck, but really, that's a bargain.
Especially when those when Jackson Lacombe and Luke Hughes signed, it was like, this defenseman gets $9 million, this one gets $9.5 million. Like, it was like, to Drew's point, I think we're getting desensitized by these numbers at this point.
We're just recalibrating. That's all. But we're going through this transition. This really should have been where the salary cap was headed all throughout COVID. Really, and it's just taken a while for everything to catch up, and the Players Association to pay things off and get things square again with the NHL on the 50-50 split. I just think that it's taking sudden jumps here, which is now where I think you're going to start to see more internal budgets from teams. I don't think you're going to see the salary cap act as a magnet for a lot of teams anymore. We can recall the early days of the salary cap. I remember talking to David Boyle in 2005, and the salary cap was, it's hard to believe now, but the salary cap, like the upper limit was 39 million, and the bottom was 21. I remember talking to David Boyle, and David Boyle's like, 39. I can barely even make like 19. Like, how am I going to? And I think you're going to start to see that again in the NHL. Like, there's going to be a certain tier of teams that are comfortable spending to the max, but most, I think you'll probably see coming short of that. So maybe then we're going to start to see the beginning of the haves and the have-nots in the NHL.
Jeff, just getting away from the Jets for a second, you mentioned the Toronto Maple Leafs earlier. What do you make of the Atlantic Division right now? Because the Leafs, like, they haven't been off to a great start, so to speak. They're in seventh place in the division, and they're only 4 points out of first. Like, you've got a three-way tie there with the Boston Bruins, the Ottawa Senators, and the Montreal Canadiens. Obviously, we all predicted the Bruins were going to win 8 of 10 games. Everybody saw that coming, right? Just
Morgan Geeky was going to be like win the Rocket Richard Trophy.
Hey, when you're from Strathclyde, Manitoba. I was going to say, when you're from Strathclyde, Manitoba, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been off to a great start. But like, what do you make of just how close that division is right now? Because as I mentioned, like, you could say, you could say this about the Leafs or that about the Leafs, but the Leafs are right in the thick of the playoff race right now. They're only a few points back of first in the division.
Great question. And I look at it like this. Right now, 18, 19 games into the season, every team in the Atlantic is the same. It's the same team, right? Like, but the thing is, like, I think you can. It's a great jumping off point, I think, for an even bigger discussion. Like in the Atlantic, to address your question, I think everybody is more similar than they are different. Every team is constructed a little bit differently. Everyone puts the accent on different things. Everyone puts the accent on a different syllable. Let's just use that sort of cliche. But the thing about the Atlantic is kind of a conversation that I think a lot of people are having about the entire NHL, that this might be the most, outside of maybe Colorado, this might be the most average. And some would say it's not everyone's average. This is parity. And okay, well, semantic discussion. Is this not like the most average start to a season that we've ever seen? Now we'll see what happens after the first demarcation point, U.S. Thanksgiving, if teams start to pull away and teams start to really fade out. But is this not the most average you've seen the NHL in I don't know how many seasons
100%.
now?
Yep.
Like this, and again, like it may all change. And we all hope it does. But right now, it's like, how's the season been? And I kind of go, okay.
Yeah.
Nothing really stands out. I mean, listen, right now, if you're voting for the Hart Trophy, I'll probably say Cale Makar. And that would be different because we haven't seen a defenseman win the Hart Trophy going back to Chris Pronger in 2000. But everything else is like, yeah, it's okay. It's good. Oh, okay, start of the season.
Is that a good thing?
Away yet. I don't think so. I've always believed, okay, I'm glad you asked me that. I've always believed that not so much in Canada, but in the United States, needs to have a team that embraces greatness and has the ability to embrace greatness by way of what the CBA allows. I don't know that hockey is ever at its best in the United States unless there's, and we'll just use, for lack of a better term, an evil empire team. Like, let's say the New York Rangers, who are just going to try to, it's like the Yankees, just going to buy themselves the Stanley Cup. Like, you need a team that jumps off the page. And in the NHL, National Hockey League of parity right now, it's really difficult to do that. This is why I've always lobbied, if you can have a salary cap, the luxury tax is the way to go, because it allows, teams to sort of embrace the evilness of we're going to try to buy the Stanley Cup. Like, what galvanized everybody's imagination, no matter what market you're in, and even casual hockey fans last year? Two things. One, the Four Nations, and two, the Ovechkin Gretzky race, right? Because that was someone who's achieving greatness, right? That's someone that's embracing it. And that's why I think that there needs to be a system or a model in place that will allow the Detroit Red Wings to jump the queue, that'll allow the New York Rangers to jump the queue, the Chicago Blackhawks to do that. And I think that hockey is at its best when there are those teams that are great. I've always sort of made the point that in a salary cap in the NHL, even though we've seen teams like Chicago won 3 cups and LA won 2 Stanley Cups in 3 seasons, and the Pittsburgh Penguins have won 3, Tampa, most recently Florida. I don't know what it does to this. I don't want to say value of the Stanley Cup, but I do wonder if it diminishes what the Stanley Cup is when every year there's a different team that's on the Stanley Cup. Like, you guys like look at the cup and you look at the rings, you goes, oh yeah, look at these teams, right? Like, wow, like you get your team on the Stanley. It's a big deal. And I'm not saying it's not a big deal to get your team and your name on the Stanley Cup. It certainly is. It just doesn't have the same gravity that it used to. Like when you look at those Islanders teams and those Habs teams and those Oilers teams, and you go to yourself, yeah, you know what? Like, look at that guy's a Hall of Famer. That guy's a Hall of Famer. That guy's a Hall of Famer, and their names are all on the Stanley Cup. That's greatness. And I don't know in a salary cap universe whether you can truly embrace greatness.
Well, Jeff, one team that probably, as you said, goes against the grain in that regard are the Colorado Avalanche with one regulation loss in 18 games.
Yeah.
And the player driving the bus for that seemingly in his 13th season is Nathan MacKinnon, who is on pace for about 150 points this year. What are you seeing from Colorado? I mean, they embarrassed the Oilers, that 9-1 game. I think that was that last Saturday, and it was an embarrassing loss for the Edmonton Oilers that made them do a little soul searching. But from your perspective, just focusing on the Colorado Avalanche, what are you seeing from this team? Because they just seem to be locked in this year.
Dave, you want to hear my pathetic life story?
Sure.
So last Saturday, my kid was in a hockey tournament. My middle kid was in a hockey tournament in Kitchener, and so it's Saturday night, and all the parents are all out, dinner and boozing and all that, and the kids are playing mini sticks in the hallways. Like it's a tournament, a bunch of 13-year-olds. And I'm like, I'm not going out. Forget it. I'm gonna go grab like a burrito around the corner and park it because I can't wait to watch Colorado and Edmonton. I can't wait. This is going to be a banger. This is two high flying teams, superstars on the ice at all time. And then Cale Makar snaps into, and the game is over. And it turns into a dud by the end. You're getting all the texts from the parents like, hey, you come in there. You come like, no, it's going to turn around. It's going to be a good game. I'm just sitting there in my hotel room like a loser that I am watching this blowout game on a Saturday night. Look, Colorado have like Brent Burns and Josh Manson on their second pair. Right now, they're the best of the bunch, and I just don't know whether this is a reflection of how great Colorado is, or if it's more a comment about all the teams around them. But I will say this to your point, Dave. MacKinnon has been outstanding. And like I've always looked at him like he's a rhinoceros on skates. When he gets ahead of steam and he charges down the wing, and guys just bounce off of him. Like you can just imagine, like he's got we've talked so much about MacKinnon, elite level skill and speed and strength and all of it. I always make the joke that he would come back to a dentist teeth story. When the season is on, you can't tell whether Nathan MacKinnon has upper teeth because he never smiles. Like we never see him. It's like, are we sure that he has teeth? Are we sure that Nathan MacKinnon has like upper teeth? Because we never see him. But to me, like I said earlier, the guy for this team is Cale Makar.
Yes.
Like this is a Cale, like this is the level of elite performance that I don't think we've seen so far from Cale Makar, and that covers a lot of ground. Like he's dusting everybody amongst defensemen, offensively, defensively. The way he closes so quick, the way he just snuffs out attacks, the way he transitions pucks, the way he contributes offensive, like just all of it. That's the guy that I keep gravitating to this year. No disrespect to Nathan MacKinnon. Who's obviously might be the best forward, probably is the best forward in the world right now today as we have this conversation. But to me, this whole thing is revolving around Cale Makar. And let's remark on Scott Wedgwood here too. Yeah. Right. Let's pause here and
a great story.
Like a wonderful story, and I got to hand it to the Avalanche, who addressed it early last year. Like, nope, we're swapping out our blue paint. We're getting 2 new goalies. That's it. We're not waiting around. Boom, boom, boom. And then by December 4th, they made the Mackenzie Blackwood deal and everything was set. And that's it. And signed him to a really nice contract. Listen, good goaltending, an elite level defender, elite level forward, and some outstanding complementary pieces. But again, is it about them or is it about the competition around them in a year that so far has been just okay?
Jeff Marek, our guest on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. A couple more for you, Jeff, if you got time. Appreciate that. Tonight, the Jets in Calgary. Calgary, 32nd in the NHL. From the highs of the Avalanche to the lows of the Flames.
Yeah.
What happens there? I mean, how did the Flames... I mean, it already does appear to be a bit of a lost season. Yeah. We know that there's no Canadian franchise, really not very many any franchises anymore that want to strip it down to the bones and rebuild, because we've seen that doesn't work necessarily as well as you might think it works on paper. So what happens in Calgary? What's the next step for Calgary to sort of get back to where they were last year, which was, if it wasn't for tiebreakers, they would have been a playoff team, and if they'd been in the East, they would have been a playoff team last year.
You guys remember the comedian Sam Kinison?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful comedian. He used to have a saying, if you're going to miss heaven, don't miss it by 2 inches. Now, he was talking about his life, but I think you can, listen, if you're going to miss, really miss.
And Sam missed by a lot.
Sam missed by a ton. He was nowhere close, but that was his life philosophy. Look, if you're going to miss heaven, don't miss it by 2 inches. And I think the same thing is true for sports teams and for this conversation for hockey and maybe for the Calgary Flames. There's a reward at either end. For being great, the reward is a Stanley Cup. For being awful, the reward is a first overall draft pick. The highest the Calgary Flames have ever drafted is 4th overall, and that was the Philadelphia draft. That was the Aaron Ekblad draft where they got Sam Bennett. This is a team that came over from Atlanta in 1980, and the highest they've drafted is 4th overall. I think if you're Craig Conroy, first of all, you're not in any hurry right now. You're letting teams come to you and creating a marketplace. And we all know the names. I mean, going back to last season and maybe even the season before, teams have come to knock on Calgary's door about Rasmus Anderson, knocked on the door about Nazem Kadri, knocked on the door about Blake Coleman. We all know the names here. I just don't think that if you're the Calgary Flames right now, if you're having a look at taking a small step back right now, if you're Craig Conroy, you wait. Mm-hmm. There's no need to rush. Wait for the marketplace to emerge and then pit teams against one another. The other thing here is a really good question, because the one thing here that I think needs to be part of the conversation is the new arena. Mm-hmm. And the last thing, listen, ask the Detroit Red Wings about this. The last thing you want is to open a rink and then have to wait for 5 years until you see a playoff game. Ask Detroit what that feels like. Right? We don't even call that rink a new rink anymore, and it hasn't seen a playoff game. Right. I think in the back of everybody's mind, right from the top, Murray Edwards all the way down, what they're thinking is this team has to be good when we open the doors to the new arena, and we can't just claw and scratch and try to get into the playoffs every year. Development of a hockey team, development of a player, it's not a straight line, it's a bunny hop, and perhaps it's a time for the Calgary Flames to look to take a couple of bunny hops backwards here. Absolutely. I don't think it surprised anybody.
No, I think you'd agree, Jeff. Gavin McKenna, I think, is probably the best thing that could be happening to this Calgary Flames team at this point, right? Just one last question for you. I thought we were going to have time to get into Macklin Celebrini, Connor Bedard, Mark Scheifele for the Olympic team, but I wanted to ask you something else about the Winter Olympics, because this story, I believe, was broken by Daily Faceoff. How concerned should we be about this arena in Milan?
The commissioner has already said, essentially, this is crunch time. We need to know. Now, having said that, and I know the situation is much different in Russia as opposed to Italy, but we went through this with the Sochi games, where it did look like the rink was going to be built in time, and then essentially the heat was on and it got done. Now, the political situation and climate is always a little bit different between those two countries. There is a venue there for them to play. It's not the desired 16,000 seat arena. It's a secondary arena, which seats, I think, about 6,000. But make no mistake about it. Both the NHL and the Players Association are very concerned that this arena will not be ready in time. Guys, we're 90 days away, and we're having this conversation, and already some games have been scotched as we try to find out whether this thing will be functional. And the last thing, ask any owner, ask any team president, general manager, ask any player. One of the things that you're always worried about at the Olympics, and I can still remember, Dominic Hasek and his, angel hair past the groin popping, and then he wasn't able to play for the Ottawa Senators, and would beg him to get on the ice, just to see if he could do it. And Dom always said, no, John Tavares with the Islanders, you're always worried about a player getting injured at the Olympics that costs you your playoffs or a playoff run, or dare we say it, the Stanley Cup. And the last thing you want is it to be because the rink isn't up to the standard that you're used to playing on. So is it a concern? Yes. How big? I think it's massive. I really do. And if anything, we haven't given enough oxygen to that conversation, because this really is a massive story. If that rink's not ready, look out.
Yeah.
Monday to Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central Time on Daily Faceoff. You can hear more from Jeff Marek on The Sheet. And, of course, The Hockey Lifers with Jeff Marek and Bruce Boudreau as well. Jeff, thanks for this. We'll let you get back to building the rink.
Here we
look
go.
forward to catching up again real soon. Appreciate you.
Coffee break is over, and I had a nice conversation. Now it's back to pounding in pegs and putting up boards. Thanks, boys. You have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Jeff. Be well.
You
Take
too,
care.
Jeff.
Jeff Marek joining us this morning here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. We'll take a final break. We'll come back. Overtime, we'll feature the Minuk Moose Minute. The Moose are streaking. And Dave will tell us all about it. Stay tuned. More from the Illegal Curve Hockey Show coming up next.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this.
Without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
We're into overtime here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Big thank you to Jeff Marek. Big thank you to Jamie Thomas for joining us to talk about the NHL and the Winnipeg Jets earlier on the show. We remind everybody later tonight, the post-game show. But for now, time to talk about a team that has been victorious as of late. Ezzy, hit that button.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Minute Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
It's a good point, Drew. The Moose are definitely in one, Ezzy. They have won 3 in a row. Folks were a little concerned after they had a little bit of a skid against that unusual series against Texas where they played the Stars for 4 straight games, lost 3 in a row, won the final game, and then headed back to the Central Division to play in Rockford against the Ice Hogs. Beat the Ice Hogs, had to come back in the third period, score. Colby Barlow got the game-winning goal of the Jets' 2023 first rounder. And then from there, they went to Milwaukee. And unlike the previous 2 games in Texas and in Rockford, where the Moose had to come back in the third period to win those games, in this game, the Moose got out to a 2-0 advantage in the score in the first period. They actually had a 17-4 shot edge after 20 minutes. Every player on the ice, with the exception of 3 for the Moose, got a shot on net. So they were doing well. Dominic DiVincentis, both Thomas Milic and Dominic DiVincentis, the Jets goalie prospects, were playing really well for the team. Dominic DiVincentis, I don't know if you saw it. I put it on the Illegal Curve Instagram. Very unusual play. There's the Admirals win the faceoff. Puck goes back to the forward. He rips a shot on net, hits DiVincentis in the helmet. The helmet, you can hear it pop. And clearly he's uncomfortable. Puck goes into the corner, and you see DiVincentis yell at the ref saying, ref, basically, like, my helmet's askew. And so he gets up, pulls the helmet off because he thinks basically the ref's going to blow the whistle. And the ref doesn't blow the whistle. So Milwaukee actually scores on DiVincentis without a helmet on. And again, we've seen it before.
I'm just watching it right now. How did that goal count?
They reviewed it. And the rule is, I went and looked at the rules, and the rules essentially say that if it happens on a scoring play, i.e. the puck is imminently about to go in the net, then the play can continue even if the goalie doesn't have the helmet on. Now, if a goalie takes the helmet off intentionally, it's delay a game. So if really what they could have done is they could have blown the whistle. And if you actually listen to obviously we're on the air right now, you can't listen to it, but if you listen, the whistle happens like within a second of the puck going in the net. So clearly the ref had the intention to blow the whistle. And so
but
just
as
a
soon
weird
as
play.
DiVincentis, Dave says, sorry to interrupt you, but as soon as he says, like, my helmet, like the strap, because the strap was obviously off, right?
Yeah.
So like as soon as he says that, does the ref not have to blow the whistle?
In theory, yes.
What I'm saying is, like, clearly him taking the mask off himself, like, you're not allowed to do that. But he's doing that because he's frustrated that the referee's not listening to him, that the strap is loose on the back of his helmet, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, like I said, it's just a very unusual play. I don't think I couldn't remember something like that happening with the Moose before. But regardless, he was fantastic throughout the course of the game, made a bunch of highlight reel saves. And then Walker Dewar he likes to shoot into the empty net, not from close. We learned that he likes to shoot from about center ice. So he iced the game with so he iced it and make it 3-1. So they win, and they'll head back to Rockford to conclude their road trip. So they're in Rockford to take on the Ice Hogs, and they're right back in the mix now. They're 6-6-2, and there's Joy back in Mooseville, and then they're back home for a few games. So all is well with the Manitoba Moose, apparently, and I should mention also Braden Yager, the Jets' 2023 first rounder. Well, they didn't draft him, but that's what his draft stock says. He's playing real well, and his vision is very clear. He had a really nice pass to Phil DiGiuseppe and for the second goal, and you can just see that he's getting much more comfortable in the American Hockey League.
There you go. Dave M, as only he can do, updating us on the Manitoba Moose, the Moose in action later tonight. So keep it locked to illegalcurve.com as Dave later on tonight. He's busy.
I'll be at a bar mitzvah, actually. Shout out Trevor Hockman. He's having a big bar mitzvah today. So shout out to Trevor.
Mitzvah, you'll update the Moose highlights and everything else along those lines. Ezzy and I will be back.
Drew, it's like yesterday. We did the thing with James Duthie at McNally Robinson. A ton of fun. Thanks for everyone who showed up. Shout out to Jet Oil Tom and others who came out and said hello.
Our girl Liz came out.
Yeah, Liz was there. But there were lots of people. It was a lot of fun, and we had a great time with James. But I'm just saying, like, same thing. Missed the first 2 periods. Had to go back, watch him back, and keep people up to date.
There you go. Ezzy and I will be back later tonight. It might be closer to midnight, might be a few minutes later than usual for our start time, but we'll be back for the
I'll be here, Drew.
post-game show following the Jets and the Calgary Flames. Thanks to Jamie Thomas. Thanks to Jeff Marek. Thanks to all of you for joining us. If you haven't already done so, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn your notifications on. Big thanks to our sponsors. There you go. Frosty Winnipeg's got them on the screen. Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club. Play Now. Holt Dental. City Place will be there Friday afternoon. Wheatland Hockey, Boston Pizza, and Label Daddy support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll be back later on tonight in about 13 or so hours time. If you haven't already done so, get your Illegal Curve merchandise available online. Check it out through the website. You'll see the links there. For Dave Manouk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. If it's Saturday, it's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Have a good Saturday, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us.